Well, a new Pokemon Pocket set was announced, so I'm gonna talk about it. And yeah, this is the first video in the channel about Pokemon Pocket. Don't ask any questions. Probably the most interesting part of this entire set is that we have our new confirmed rarity in the shiny rarity, which is gonna give every single Pokemon a shiny variant. Well, we actually do not know if it's gonna be for every Pokemon, but at least they confirmed it. This was in the database, nobody knew what it was, but now it's 100% confirmed. And obviously, as with every single booster set, we have a couple of new confirmed cards. First, we have Pachirisu, which basically works like a light version of Dialga, using 1 energy to attack and give 1 energy to a bench Pokemon. Then we have Wiglet that at random attacks one of the opponent's Pokemons for 30 damage. We also have Baroon that does absolutely nothing. We should just wait and see what Revelry gives to us. We also got a special art of Tatsugiri, which confirms us that Dondoso is also coming. Tatsugiri is probably just gonna be a supporter, as you can see. We have to see what Dondoso can offer in order to see if Tatsugiri is a good card or not. We also got Sprigatito that does exactly the same thing as Caterpie. However, because it is a Sprigatito and it's gonna evolve into a Meowscarada, it might be better. And we also have Pinsir, which is one of your typical flip a coin to do X amount of extra damage compared to the base attack. Now we got into the interesting stuff. Red is a new supporter that does 20 extra damage if your opponent has an active EX Pokemon. It's basically a better version for Giovanni, just that is way more specific. However, I think that is pretty cool. The other new supporter would be Yono, which basically does a mulligan for both you and your opponent, retrieving your entire hand and drawing the same amount of cards, and doing the exact same thing for your opponent. And no, before anyone asks, this is not gonna include Yono itself. And now we can go with the interesting cards, because they announced not 1, not 2, not 5, but 9 new EXs. Starting with Wugtrio. Wugtrio is the evolution of the already mentioned Wiglet and basically expands in that concept. It's just 140 HP, which is very low for a stage 1, especially an EX, but its attack is supposed to be the compensation. Pop Out True is an attack that attacks 3 times at random, similar to how Dragonite does it, and each one of them does 50 damage. It is the same, just that with 1 less attack, but being way easier to proc. Is it good? Is it not? We'll have to see. Next, we have another interesting one in Tinkaton. A 170 HP Metal type stage 2 with Terrific Thumping, which is a new attack, but that works in very similar way to what we have seen with others. It does 80 damage, but you flip a coin, and if you get heads, it does double, which means 160 damage, which is really high. I don't think that is gonna be that good, but we have to take into consideration. If the pre-evolutions add some interesting things for the Pokemon, it might see some play. It is also worth noting that thanks to this Pokemon, and another one that we are gonna see later on, we are 100% confirming that we are gonna get EXs from the most recent generation. The other Gen 9 EX Pokemon that we are adding is, in this case, Paldean Clotsire. I don't know why it's Paldean, because Clotsire is just Clotsire, he's not Quatsire, so it should not be used the Paldean Clotsire, but whatever. Which is a much more standard Pokemon. A stage 1 with a 160 HP, as we have seen with cards like Executor or Propassy X, with Venoshock, which is basically the same thing as the Venoshock from Mook, does 60 damage and 60 more if the target is poison. Which means that once again Wizzing is gonna be ramping in a couple different decks. Yoo-hoo! We also are not certain if Paldean Wooper is gonna be able to help, like for example how Whirlipede sets up the Venoshock equivalent of Scolipede, but regardless, this is a very solid Pokemon. Next, we finally got it. Giratina EX. 150 HP, Psychic type, basic, and a unique ability that we have never seen. Broken Space Below attaches 1 psychic energy to Giratina itself, which is very good, especially for a basic that attacks for a huge amount, as we are gonna see. However, to compensate that, because it would be straight up broken, broken space below immediately ends your turn once you activate it. It also has Chaotic Impact, which is a 4 energy attack that does 130 damage and has a little bit of recoil damage. It is gonna be a really interesting card with a lot of strategy involved. Thanks to the ability, you will have to decide and be really conscious in whether it's better to just straight up attack your opponent and when it's gonna be better to just attach and keep boosting your Athena. It is a phenomenally crafted card, and I hope that sees a lot of play. Another card with an interesting design is Beedrill. Stage 2, 170 HP with the attack Crushing Spear. It does 80 damage, but it has the additional effect of discarding an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. That effect is gonna be very interesting in certain matchups, thanks to the fact that it can totally disrupt and completely shut down basically certain different Pokemons like Gyarados EX or Yanmega EX. Yanmega EX is not that used right now, but Gyarados had a slight resurgence in the most recent meta weeklies, and having a card like this could be very interesting, especially for, as I'm saying, those cards that discard their own energies. We also have our first repeating EX in Pikachu second version. Is, as always, a basic and has Thunderbolt, a 150 damage attack, which makes it the highest hitter out of any basic. Even better and stronger than Arceus with setup. Obviously, it must have some downsides. The downsides being 3 energy that is not that big of a deal, especially with the new Pachirisu that we told more recently, but also has the effect of discarding all of the energies attached to Pikachu. It is basically an advanced version of the original Raichu that they released in Generic Apex, but I think that is pretty cool. And it was obvious that the first repeating was gonna be Pikachu. Is there any other Pokemon that can do it? Wait. Next, the most funny of them all is definitely Bibarel. Who decided to put Bibarel? I genuinely do not know, but I love it. A stage 1 with 160 HP, colorless energy, which has Carefree Press, a 4 colorless attack that does 100 damage and heals for 30. This card is not good, not in the slightest, but I genuinely love to see some random Pokemons getting love. Just like how Probopass was in the previous set, in the Arceus set, Bibarel is the one getting love for now. And as I'm saying, I love it. And now, going with the most interesting Pokemons of the set, or at least the ones that got highlighted by Pokemon itself, let's start with Lucario, that as you can see has the shiny rarity, which is very cool. It is a stage 1, obviously, and has Aura Sphere, which is an attack that basically does 100 damage and 30 damage to a bench Pokemon. Is it gonna be good though? I think that this one is not as good as it should be. Lucario is already the best supporter of fighting type energy decks, and having to lose both of your Lucarios to boost your attack to get this one feels kinda odd. I'm not saying that it's not gonna see play, but I want to see what people actually crafts in order to make this card playable and actively better than the other variations. But yeah, it was very weird that they decided to make the original Lucario a supporter in the first place and not an EX. It's one of the most beloved Pokemons in the franchise, alongside Pikachu and... Wait, who is coming next? Oh no. Charizard got its second card, and it officially has the most broken attack in the entire game. Obviously, stage 2 with 180 HP, just like the original one. However, it has a new 1 energy attack called Stoke, which gives 3 fire energy to itself. If this was in any other high cost attack user, this would immediately break the game. But how can he use to its advantage the 3 energy that he just attached to itself? With Steam Artillery, which is a basic attack of 3 fire energy and 2 colorless that does 150 damage. It is the single most expensive attack in the entire game, surpassing all of those very few and far in between 4 energy cost attacks. It is very cool that they made it so it basically pumps itself up, So this is closer to being a 2 or 3 energy cost 150 damage attack. But there's still a huge issue with this card, and it's the fact that it's still a stage 2, and that the original Charizard EX having an attack that basically one hit KOs every Pokemon in the game, except 3 options with really specific conditions, but we are not gonna talk about those. This one feels weird. It's definitely way better in certain circumstances, especially considering that you now are not required to use Moltres. However, I think that you would still want to use it because it's Moltres and it helps pump it up before it even starts attacking, so it doesn't need to use Toke. And once again, at that point, the original Charizard EX probably is better. I guess that this one gives you more flexibility with the supporters and the other basics, but I'm not certain. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And the probably most interesting part of it all is the EX starter deck missions. We're not certain of how they are gonna happen, we just know that it will happen. Unlike other sets in which there's confirmed exactly 5 EX Pokemons, this one has 9 announced ones. So I think that half of these Pokemons are gonna be rewards from either new events or just straight up the new ranked mode. It makes way more sense that way, and that will explain why certain EXs feel out of place compared to the others. In my opinion, and because in the art of the new pack we have confirmed 4 of the theoretical 5 EXs that are gonna be in, I think that they are gonna use all Bibarel, Pikachu, Klotzar, and Tinkaton as rewards for certain events. As I'm saying, that's not certain, but those are the ones that make the most amount of sense. Unless they decide to switch Pikachu with Giratina, I don't think that it would make sense that they have only one Paldean as an EX for the pack, and they probably would capitalize in the hype that Giratina creates by just existing, but who knows, they might just put Bibarel because they like him. Bidoof is still better. And without anything else to explain, thank you guys so much for watching, I hope that you all enjoyed it. And if you want more content like this, talking or maybe even playing Pokemon Pocket, leave a like, comment and subscribe. It not only helps me to know what you like, but also it helps you to get more content of your favorite games. So, without anything else to explain, see you next time, bye bye!